G'day, it's Peter from the Music Room. How you going? It's Sunday morning. It's a bit wet out here, unfortunately. But I thought I'd get around to finally doing that video that I mentioned a little while ago. What I wanted to do is show you um, my go-to albums, my special albums in my collection. Things that kind of stand out for me that are, for one reason or another, a personal, just special in my life. Okay, among the thousand odd that I have in my collection right now, right? But there's a few, there's about 20 or so here that I'm going to show you that mean something to me um, more than anything else. Okay. Um, anyway, without further ado, let's go and get on with it. Firstly, I'm going to show you two because they're kind of a pair. There's a Bad Company debut album and the follow-up Straight Shooter. Now they're kind of, you could say they're kind of a part one, part two. Straight Shooter is kind of more of the same with the first one. This first one is just a great rocking album, right? My first exposure to Paul Rodgers was through Free, but I wasn't really a big Free fan. But Bad Company, I got to see in concert here in Sydney back in, I think when they first toured. I think on the back of the Straight Shooter album in '75, I believe. I may have still the tickets. This one here, Can't Get Enough, Rocksteady, Ready for Love, Don't Let Me Down. Those first four tracks in that album, Bad Company, Way Cheers, Moving On, Seagull, and then coupled with, Good Love and Gone Bad, which is the next single, Feel Like Making Love, Weep No More, Shooting Star, which is a cautionary tale of a rock star who hits the highs and hits the lows. Deal with the Preacher, Waffle Woman, Anna, and Call on Me. The whole length and breadth of these two albums is so great, so enjoyable. I'm a drummer. I love playing Can't Get Enough, and I actually play in the band I'm in now. So it's just a fun song to play. So yeah, I'll just start with those two. The next one is a band that I came to late, actually via The Last Waltz, but I came to them a bit later than that. Again, and that's The Band. Now that, to me, it's such a mixed bag of Americana. It's gospel, rock, blues, soul. It's just everything. Americana, yeah, folk, whatever. It's such a diverse album, and these guys are so multi-talented. Were so multi-talented. Um, I came to this band late. I've never seen this album a lot in the shops, but I never really ventured into it back in the day. But I came to them in the '90s. I bought CDs, versions of the whole back catalogue, and then eventually I found vinyl, and that's an American. That's an American. I'm not sure if it's a first press. It's a green label, but it's yeah, that's The Band. Second album. The Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. I go to that as well. That's another one I came to late. Remember reading about it in a booklet about the top greatest, greatest CDs and whatever, ultimate CD, whatever. This was mentioned. Found a CD in the '90s, and then finally found a vinyl pressing of this. I've also got a box set behind me, which is the complete sections of this album. Read a book about this. I've got a book as well, written about this. This is actually quite a great album. Some people think it's overrated. I like it myself. I don't know if it's the greatest album ever made, as some people have touted. This is a reissue mono as well. I wanted to actually get a mono version on vinyl, as I have a stereo on CD. My favourite Bowie album, and I've mentioned this before, is Station to Station. It's another album I go back to. More than the other ones, and I've got pretty much all the other ones up to tonight. Okay. This is just great. It's the cover's pretty plain, but 6 tracks. My favourite being Word on a Wing on this thing. the production on the album, the sound, the drums, the sound of the whole, the way it's played, it's just such a great album. Bowie's voice on this is just, so great. So yeah, Station to Station. I think it was part of the Berlin period. I think the Berlin period was actually Low Heroes and Lodger, but I think that was kind of the bridge between Young Americans and that period. Kate Bush's debut, The Kick Inside. A great debut for such a young artist at the time. She was 17, 18. I mean, EMI found her, discovered by Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd. EMI gave her some money to go away and write some songs for about 3 years, which was like 15. Came back and made this album. And her other albums are pretty good too. The follow-up, Lionheart, is actually quite good as well. But this one is probably the one I would go back to, her debut. She may have made better albums, but this is actually my favourite. Tommy Bolin, Teaser. Now, he only ever issued 2 albums in his lifetime, unfortunately. There have been compilations of other tracks, of his career with the James Gang and Moxie and a few other bands that he played with. This is a mix of rock, jazz, fusion. This is recorded at the time when he had just joined Deep Purple, and he had this going on as well. It's different to Deep Purple, obviously. This is what Bolin was all about. But Bolin had gained a reputation as a sideman. It was his track on Quadrant 4 on Billy Cobham's Spectrum album that got Deep Purple's attention, particularly Dave Coverdale's. It's tragic what happened to him, unfortunately, with his career with Deep Purple. I'll talk more about that later on. But this one is just such a great debut. Bruce Cockburn. It might surprise some people, but this is a kind of a folky rock pop thing, more folky than anything else. Came to this album through my best mate. He showed me this album and heard it. I bought the album. It's actually quite a nice one. Dancing with the Dragon Jaw. You're probably not, some people may know the song. Some people will know the song Wandering Where the Lines Are, which is actually quite got played a lot back in the day. The album was released around about late 70s, early 80s. So yeah. Okay. Alright, my dog is wandering in there, getting curious what's going on behind there. Wanda? Hello. Okay. Cold Chisel, Aussie Legends. I picked that album out among the 6 or so that they did, studio albums. They have reformed and they're still going. But they broke up in 1983. I actually was at the very, very last concert that they performed. This is a classic album. I mean, it just, from go to woe, right? Every song is pretty much a Chisel classic. Standing on the Outside, Never Before, Choir Girl, Rising Sun, My Baby, right? Star Hotel, Cheap Wine, which is a single, Four Walls, just a beautiful ballad sung by Ian Moss. No, not Four Walls. Anyway, yeah, that may have been sung by Jimmy Barnes, but yeah, I think it's actually Jimmy Barnes sang that. But there are a couple of Ian Moss lead vocals on this. My Baby's one of them. So yeah, that's a classic. This version actually has a bonus single that came with it, which had live versions of Knocking on Heaven's Door and Party's Over, which was a studio song that didn't appear in any albums. Okay. Trying to find this one. The Commodores. Some funk from the early 1970s, mid 70s. Great, fun album. Again, as a drummer, I love practicing to this album. You just lose yourself playing this album. Also used a lot as a demo record with different hi-fi shows back here in Sydney, back in the late 70s, around that time, mid 70s. You go to a hotel and you go to different rooms and you sample different hi-fi equipment, and this album would actually get played a fair bit as a demo. Rightly so, it sounds great. Great funky album. Creedence. Now, I could have picked a couple others, but this one, I didn't actually have the others at the time this came out. I have since bought the others, particularly Cosmo's Factory and Billy the Poor Boys, but that, my brother had this album when I was growing up, and it became a favourite. And I became so familiar with it. And it became my favourite Creedence album of all the ones that I've got. It was the last one with Tom in the band. A little experimental at times. There are a couple of tracks that are a bit, not hard to listen to, but you sort of wonder what's going on there. But this, it's a great album. Features the singles. Have You Ever Seen the Rain with Hey Tonight, which was the B-side of that. Maybe even a double side, but I think that was the B-side. Okay. My other favourite album, I have shown this before, Deep Purple's Machine Head. This and the other album I'm going to show later on are my go-tos if I've ever had a bad day. This is just a superb album. I came to Deep Purple in the mid-70s. This album quickly became a favourite. From different start to finish, this is an Australian version. It's actually it's an SQ version. Now, I'm not sure whether we ever had a stereo version released in Australia. Maybe some people can enlighten me on that. This is a quad version. It's intact. Still got the lyric sheet and everything. It's as it was as I bought it back in the mid-70s. Deep Purple Machine Head. I'm going to add two more to that. It's a set of three. Burn. The first Deep Purple album I bought on release. This has been covered on his replaced Glenn and Glover. Again, a fantastic album. The killer opening. Side A particularly is great. I think a little bit let down by the instrumental at the end, but A200. But it's got mistreated. What's going on here? You fool no one. Can't quibble on those. This is great. And there's a third Deep Purple I'm going to go with, and it relates to the Tommy Bolin album, Come Take the Band. I quite like this album. This has actually been a long-term time favourite. It's some people don't consider it a Deep Purple album because Blackmore isn't there, but actually it's really, really quite good. The tragedy of it being that Tommy had some substance abuse issues, and it turns out Glenn Hughes had Sam, and the two of them together became a bit of a terrible twins thing, and it did affect the band badly to the point where they ended up breaking up after this album. I saw this lineup of Deep Purple in late 1975, early 70, might have been 76, travelling on the back of that album. That was a great show. It really was. Better than I expected. This is probably one of my favourite Deep Purple albums. It's a close second to Machine Head. Yeah. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I love prog rock. Brain Salad Surgery is my favourite ELP album. There's so much going on with this album. Particularly the opening Jerusalem, which I'd never heard Jerusalem before. Wasn't even aware it was an English hymn before I bought this. But yeah, it's I've got the original with the fold-out cover with the artwork. This is an Australian press. I've had this since it was released. Again, one of those ones where I came to ELP a bit late, but I bought this one when it came out. Yep. Again, up here, I'm going to show the other one with this, but Little Queen by Heart. Probably my favourite Heart album. Dreamboat Annie is actually was a really great debut. I didn't actually at the time pick up on the Led Zeppelin influences until it was mentioned much later. But hearing it back, yeah, you can kind of hear it. Yeah, particularly on Sylvan's song "Dream of the Arrow," you know, with the mandolin kind of thing. But the rock on this, you know, Annie can sing, can really belt it out, and it's just a great all-round album. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, there you are. She's right at my feet. My pup Wanda is actually at my feet, right here. Yeah. Okay. I've got her bed here, but she'd rather sit at my feet. So right under. I got to watch. I take a step back. Tread on her. Okay. INXS is The Swing. Now this is actually my favourite INXS album. They've had probably better albums, but particularly the title track. I love the big drums on it. Just the way it sounds. Original Sin, when it kicks in, you know, the opening of that, the production on this. I think this was the bridge to their international fame. But I just love that album. The album is die cut. There are some windows in the cover, in the gatefold. So when you pull it out, take that. But yeah, that is not an interesting. Actually, I sent a message with the opening of that. But yeah, I've had that since release as well. A great album, probably a little underrated compared to some of the other ones. But yeah, great album. Billy Joel, The Stranger. I've got a box set of making the album. That is a superb album. I remember hearing him talk about Caesar's Italian Restaurant, and how he was inspired by Abbey Road Side 2, the meddling, and Abbey Road Side 2. And I can hear it. It is, you know, there are about 4 different songs in that package. Just from Go to Woe, Moving Out Stranger, Just the Way You Are, which he didn't want to put on the album, but was convinced to do so. I think Bette Midler and a couple others then talked him into it. Under the Good Die Young, Vienna, She's Always a Woman, Get It Right the First Time, Everybody Has a Dream. Yeah, I don't know if you ever bettered this album. You know, a lot of artists have a peak that they find hard to top, and I think that may have been his peak. But he's had some great albums since then. I think Innocent Man was a big one for him as well. Yeah. Elton John, Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player. Probably my first exposure to Elton John was through the single Crocodile Rock. Probably the first Elton John single I bought, actually, now that I think about it. Never had the album growing up, but I remember the album being around at the time, and I finally got a copy of it much later. This is an original pressing, just tell by the catalogue number, the way it's numbered. Great album. I prefer this. Well, I think Elton lost the plot around the time of Philadelphia Freedom, personally. His earlier stuff, to me, is his best work. Probably culminated it with Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. But that is an underrated album. Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player. Led Zeppelin. My favourite Led Zeppelin album is actually Physical Graffiti. And I've got the original with the die cut. All that. Okay. It's actually got the Lee Harvey Oswald thing in it as well. In the window thing. That is a great Led Zeppelin album. I think in hindsight it's been called a kind of a pieces parts album by some people. It's compiled by a lot of other recordings, but I just love that. It's probably my first real exposure to Led Zeppelin, and I went backwards, discovered the other albums as a result. I think I may have had the other albums, but paid more attention to them after. I could have put Led Zeppelin 4, sure, but you know, this is it's probably my favourite Led Zeppelin album. That's right, there was one more that I wanted to peel out, which I will later on. The Motels debut album. I've shown this before a couple of years back during Vinyl Tag. This is a great debut album by the Motels. They're actually quite big in Australia, probably bigger than in America. The version of Total Control in here is actually a longer version, quite a sexy one. It's just a great rock album. Some straight ahead punk themes, you know. Martha's got a beautiful voice as well. Yeah, wonderful album. And there's actually a little video of them reforming for a one-time concert, which was actually quite good. I saw that on YouTube recently. An unusual one, Alice in Wonderland, Pace Action Lord. Probably not one that many people may have heard about. This is a group formed after Deep Purple broke up. Ian Paice, John Lord, with Bernie Marsden, Tony Ashton, and Paul Martinez. Tony Ashton fronted, was in a band that recorded Resurrection Shuffle, Ashton Gardner Dyke. Yeah. So, but he apparently wasn't a natural frontman. He was more a keyboardist and a singer, but wasn't a natural frontman. That's actually quite a good album. It's a mix of rock and a bit of jazz and whatever else. Quite good. Quite a good album. My favourite Pink Floyd album is Wish You Were Here. Not Dark Side of the Moon. Love this album. I played it recently, a little while ago. Again, the first Pink Floyd album I bought on release. I had heard Wish You Were Here. I had that before. I only had a few Pink Floyd albums for a little while. Now the ones that followed this didn't really dabble into the earlier ones so much. I have since bought the Pink Floyd box set Discovery CD box. It's got all the other stuff as well. That's my favourite Pink Floyd album. From Elvis in Memphis. The one Elvis album that I will ever recommend is this one. When he gets to record and sing some great songs. It was hamstrung by publishing arrangements that they'd made, and which is why a lot of the stuff he hadn't, he wasn't recording because people wouldn't hand over half the copyright. This was somebody getting hold of him, putting him with a bunch of great musicians, with a bunch of great songs, and this was the result. It was hot on the tails of the 68 special as well. So there was a period there where he had a bit of a renaissance, and then it springboarded him onto back into live performance, with the Vegas shows and then the tour he did of America. Yeah, great album. Elvis could sing. Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow Rising, probably the best of their efforts. A classic heavy rock album, to be sure. It is just such a great album. Only 6 tracks on the album, but it was a classic lineup. I saw this lineup in concert back when they toured. Ronnie James Dio, first time I ever heard Ronnie Dio was actually on the previous Rainbow album. He of course went on to have a big career. Amazing boys. Tony Carey, Jimmy Bain, Cozy Powell on drums, and Ritchie on guitar. This was just a fantastic album. Stargazer, Light in the Black, Tarot Woman, just an amazing opener. Starstruck, one with Rob Wolf and Do Close Your Eyes. All great songs. Side 2, the 2 longest tracks on side 2 are just superb. I love playing Stargazer on drums. It's just Cozy Powell's drum style, just phenomenal. I loved it. Linda Ronstadt, Simple Dreams. If I'm going to go back to a Linda Ronstadt album, it's probably going to be this one because a lot of pleasant memories. Again, it's like the Commodores album. It was an album that was actually used quite a lot as a stereo demo record back in the day. This sounds great, and Linda's voice is just so stunning on this album. A couple of Warren Zevon songs, Poor Poor Pitiful Me, Carmelita, version of Tumble and Dice, It's So Easy, Simple Man, Simple Dream, Blue by You. It was also the period of sine drums, which were electronic drums that made these weird noises. Yeah, every time. From 1977, great album. Santana's debut album. I remember my brother buying this album, bringing it home, and my dad loved it. This is just a fantastic album, a fantastic debut. It's probably the album I go back to, but more than the others. I've got quite a lot of the other ones as well. Maybe nearly all of them up into Supernatural. Okay, but there was another one. They went into a jazz fusion period, but then they come back to their roots with Amigos, which is kind of like the debut album. It's actually really quite a good fun album. Got Dances to Dance on this, Let the Children Play, around here, Europa. I Let the Children Play on another album, sorry. Europa, my favourite Santana instrumental, actually. Yeah, quite a nice one. I remember actually reviewing that album for a music magazine here in Australia. Yeah. Paul Simon, a much underrated album, Hearts and Bones. This was the predecessor to Graceland. My favourite Paul Simon album, actually. And I've also got it on CD as well. Allergies with Al Di Meola on guitar. I've got Late Great Johnny Ace on it, Trying to Distance, Think Too Much. Hearts and Bones, beautiful song. Late Great Johnny Ace, as I said. A song that he performed at the concert in the park. Actually, it's someone running on stage to try and attack him as a result of that. Because there were references to John Lennon passing on there. This is, again, I think an underrated album. Sadly underrated, I think. A lot of attention went to Graceland, which became a huge album. Okay. Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. Probably not this one, but I've actually come to rediscover this album, and it's actually, have you seen Springsteen in concert back in the early 2000s, outdoors at the Sydney Cricket Ground? Amazing show. But this is just a nice earthy, down to earth rock album. Alright. Yeah, I love this album. Now, the next three I'm going to show you, all by the same band, are kind of a trilogy. Status Quo, Pile Driver, Hello, and Quo. Now, back at the time, I was listening to these types of bands, Status Quo, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, maybe Uriah Heep at the time, Bad Company was another one. Status Quo I saw in concert a few times. I just loved the straight ahead rock of the band, and each album just got better and better and better. And actually, though they did become a bit formulaic after a while, but these are classic albums that part of my youth back in the day on the Australian Vertigo label. That one's actually got the spoil on it. The other two are the spaceship ones. I think this one actually might have the spoil too. Yeah, that's a set of three that I'm going to pull out there. Sweet Fanny Adams. Rock Daydream Nation channel did a thing on this, and I played this recently. This is a fantastic album. Just a great rock album. Yeah, it surprised me when I first bought it back in the day, back on release. I was very surprised by the album. The follow-up, Desolation Boulevard, was different in America, but it had elements of this album on there. Actually, I played it recently. It was actually better than I remembered. I remember being a bit disappointed by it initially, but actually better than I thought that I remembered. But yeah, that is an album I do recommend, Sweet Fanny Adams. Stevie Wonder, Talking Book. And again, a pair. Talking Book and Innervisions. I think they are a match pair, you could say. Both rock classics on there. You Got the Same Time of My Life, Superstition, You and I, We Can Conquer the World was actually a favourite song of mine for a long time there. Some beautiful work on there. Followed up by, I came to these albums a bit later, again in the mid-70s after release. Two Higher Visions, Living with the City, Golden Lady, High Ground. Again, two superb albums by Stevie Wonder. I prefer these to Song of the Key of Life. I think that album, as big a work as it was, I think some of the songs get a little bit too overlong, and I think could have been cut short in parts. Okay, there was one other one I forgot to pull out, which was, just bear with me a second. It is, where is it? There it is. The Who's Quadrophenia. Sorry, I meant to pull this out before. I know which one I've forgotten. This is my favourite Who album. A double album set. It's actually a kind of a rock opera. Really quite a good album. My first real introduction to The Who. Got the booklet and everything. I can't show you some of the booklet because there are elements in here that may get me censored. Yeah, that is a great album. Really great album. Again, I bought that on release. Sprung me back to the other stuff, like Who's Next and some of the other stuff later on. A good introduction. Now, you're wondering, okay, no Beatles. Well, there are Beatles. I'm going to show the next few as to finish it off. My favourite Beatles solo albums are as follows. I'll go back to this one. This one I discovered on a tape travelling around Europe. George Harrison's self-titled album. That is a gorgeous album. It's got Blow Away on it, Not Guilty, which I wasn't aware at the time was actually a rejected Beatle track. Faster, Dark Sweet Lady, Love Comes to Everyone, Here Comes the Moon, which is actually a sequel of sorts to Here Comes the Sun, if you listen to it closely. That is a beautiful, beautiful album. Really love it. John Lennon, Walls and Bridges. A fun album, actually. I think it's a lot less serious than some of the other stuff he brought before. But Going Down Low, It'll Get You Through the Night. He's gone through a period. He's actually in his Lost Weekend period at the time. But this is a really, to the most enjoyable John Lennon album I think I've got. Near People's Sight, Tatiana Band, it's very dark. Imagine's quite a nice album. But this one I go to. Paul McCartney and Wings. No, not Wings. Paul and Linda McCartney, sorry. I stand corrected. Ram. His second solo album, so to speak. It's actually, it was underrated there for a long time, but actually my brother had this album, and I grew up with it, and became very familiar with it, and it became a favourite, and something I also will go back to. And of course the Ringo album, which was, to me, it came out, it's actually got a nice package. You've got the booklet and everything. The guest stars on this album is, the Who's Who, the band, members of the band, 3 ex-Beatles with Ringo, Klaus Foreman, Mark Bolan, Tom Scott, a whole lot of other people, Mary Clayton, Martha Reeves, and backing vocals. Yeah, that is the closest you get to a Beatle reunion on that album. Which brings me to the big ones. My favourite album, as you probably all already know, is Abbey Road. That is my go-to album if I'm feeling like crap, along with Machine Head. Again, my brother had the album, and I've got the whole Beatle catalogue. I love that album so much. It is just for me, their swan song, their true swan song, not Let It Be. What a way to finish a career, that one. But I'd like to pull out that Park Marches. And the reason I'm pulling this out is because it's an album of singles, B-sides, EP tracks, that kind of thing. And there are a lot of tracks on here that are from my childhood. From Me to You, Thank You, Girl, we had as a single here at home. The Long Tall Sally and I Call Your Name were part of an EP. We didn't actually have the Long Tall Sally EP, but those, I Feel Fine, She's a Woman, I'm Down, Day Tripper, We Can Work It Out, Payback Rider, Rain, superb B-side, The Inner Light, I remember as well, Lady Madonna. Yeah, that is a great album. That is part of the canon. It should be counted when people are doing their rating albums, doing their ratings of Beatle albums. It really should be counted, because this would actually rate quite high, I think. Anyway, there you go. That's my favourite albums within my collection, my go-to albums. I hope you enjoyed that. I know the video's gotten a bit long. My apologies, but you know, I'm unscripted. I do talk a bit, but I hope you got something out of that. Now, there might be some albums there you might want to go and seek out yourselves as well. So, and thank you again to the subscribers who've stuck with me, and hope I can attract more. That'd be nice. If you like this channel, ring the bell, hit subscribe, hit like, leave a comment. Tell me if there's anything here that you liked, if there's anything you can recommend to me that I should go to as well. I'm open to suggestions, believe me. Okay, thank you. Wherever you are in the world, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Okay? I know it's Saturday in some countries, it's Sunday over here. Bye-bye.